and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The program is coming to you live from Monday to Friday on CGTN. In the French capital, Paris, where the world watched in shock as part of the historic Notre-Dame Cathedral went up in smoke. Authorities say the damage is significant, but the fire is now under control.
A solemn moment as brave firefighters tackle a blaze that engulfed Notre-Dame Cathedral Monday night. Authorities had some crumbs of comfort for those in distress, saying the structure had been saved. But there's no doubt that severe damage has been done. Footage taken by the Paris Fire Brigade shows just how devastating the blaze was, with the cathedral's roof, spire, and towers all up in smoke and flames. But there's a feeling much more has been lost than just the iconic structures.
That is irreplaceable, not so much the wood structures, because that could be replaced and that's going to collapse. The spire, which is beautiful, is a 19th century construct, so that possibly can be replaced. Some will be lost, of course, because you can't replace exactly, but it still be lost. But I think the rose windows, the stained glass windows, I mean, that's just really replaceable.
And it couldn't really have come at a worse time for the nation or the country's president. President Emmanuel Macron was preparing to deliver a televised address to the French people. It was to outline his plans for the political future of the country in the face of the ongoing Yellow Vest protests. Instead, he had to rush to the scene of the fire and deliver a much different speech.
Alors je vous le dis très solennellement ce soir.
I am solemnly telling you tonight, this cathedral will be rebuilt by all of us together, and it's probably part of France's destiny, and it will be our project for the years to come. I am committed to this. We will rebuild Notre-Dame, because this is what the French expect, because this is what our history deserves, because it's our profound destiny.
Perhaps Macron and the country will be able to use this fire to reach new heights. This iconic landmark has witnessed and survived every major event in modern France, from a social and political revolution in the late 18th century to World War II. Each time, France was rebuilt, rising from the ashes, as this timeless cathedral remained. This time, however, it'll be France that needs to stand tall, and the cathedral that needs rebuilding. Timothy Ulrich, CGTN.
For the Notre-Dame fire in Paris, we are joined by Joab Toker, a professor at the American Graduate School in Paris. And in our Beijing studio, we have Professor Dong Qiang, the head of the French department from Peking University. Later in our program, we're also going to be joined by François-Henri Pinault, who is the chairman and CEO of Karen, who has been vowing to donate 100 million euro already for the repair of the cathedral. But first of all, Professor and two professors, shall I say, welcome to our program. Professor Toker, go to you first. A very sad day, of course, for many of us who love the cathedral.
A tragic day, absolutely a tragic day. One of those rare moments in which I think every person individually feels that there is some kind of combination of sentiments and feelings and thoughts and references that are mixed together in a whole variety of values and dimensions. And all that is just in front of us in such a small world which transmits those pictures and those sounds and those sentiments just all across the planet. I mean, we don't have so many spots on Earth, you know, which regroup so rapidly and so intensively all these things over one single spot. And I'm afraid that what has happened last evening in Paris is one of them.
Yes, indeed. Professor Dong Qiang, as an ardent student in a way of the French culture and certainly a great bridge between China and France, you have been, as intellectual, studying the French culture and also all the works related to the cathedral. Tell me about what is your take about what it represents.
For me, it's just like the professor says, a tragedy, and I was really very sad when I saw all the images. You know, Victor Hugo and this novel and his other novels are so popular in China. We every students, and when we are very young already, we have read a lot of novels and the French literatures, and Victor Hugo is one of the most famous. You know, people are very familiar with persons in the novel, like Esmeralda, as Quasimodo, and I think everybody, even they don't have read the book, even they never went to Paris, they know about the story, they know the Cathedral of Paris, and they know even the story of the novel. They know what happened.
Right.
You know, so this is really, I think, which is important with the Cathedral of Paris. That is one part of not only French destiny, as the French president said. I think it's a part of humanity. All humanity. And for Chinese people who go to Paris, everybody wants to take a picture with the cathedral, and you know, this. I think there's three symbols of monuments. Monuments who are symbols of Paris. You know, you have the Louvre, you have the Eiffel Tower, and you have Notre-Dame de Paris.
Of course.
I think these three monuments are different for different significance and different symbols.
Right, indeed. Mr. Toker, of course, Professor Dong emphasized on the literature, which gives an extended value of what Notre-Dame has been standing for. But to a Frenchman like you, and to someone who has witnessed on TV what really happened over there, what do you make of the process with which the world has been paying their tribute to this beautiful architecture and put to this beautiful cultural symbol?
Yes, I think that the way the world, so to speak, has reacted, very much so in parallel to the way French people reacted. I don't think that it is indeed a French it is a French cathedral. These are French stones, and these were French engineers and artists to some extent which built this cathedral. But it belongs to humanity, and it has crossed centuries. It has crossed wars of religions. It has crossed two major world wars which brought so much destruction to Europe. It has crossed social turmoils and revolutions in France itself, and so much animosity. And here it is, yesterday, eaten partially by fire. So we're speaking about something which actually exceeds us as individuals and as French people or Europeans. And this is why I think that Notre-Dame de Paris belongs to the world, belongs to humanity.
Right.
Sometimes you have tendency to say, I don't want to go into philosophical type of reflections, but sometimes you tend to say that whatever goes through time and succeeds crossing time are only two things: stones and words. And here, indeed, we're in front of a monument of stones and other marvelous pieces of art which has crossed 8-9 centuries, right?
Yes, indeed. It's not just about the centuries. It's also about the hearts and minds and the artistic values that people have been keep on putting onto Notre-Dame, and the personal stories that has happened throughout the centuries that has made this architecture what it is and why it stands out among all. Professor Dong, I know you personally also have your own tours and also academic studies into the Notre-Dame. What do you make of those personal stories that you have with this symbol of French culture and beyond, Professor Dong?
You know, when it's a great classic, you know, every period of your life, you go back to the book and you back to the monument. And every time you find something new, you can you can put yourself with the story, and you understand much more the story, and you know, when you arrive in Paris and you go to there, the cathedral is there, and then you are just calm, you know, I'm in Paris, you know. This kind of feeling, that's why everybody will be very sad when they go to Paris and find the spy is not there. But I think also, which is very important, we talk about a tragedy, but I will insist on one thing, that it's also an accident. Yeah. You know, so we will not insist too much about the tragedy. I think the French president said the French people will rebuild the Notre-Dame. I'm sure, because I know the French people are very, very strong in this domain of patrimoine, you know, the heritage.
Talking about the strengths, we're also having so many different people joining the circle of support. For example, those coming from the business community. François-Henri Pinault is one of them. He and his family immediately pledged 100 million euro to rebuild and renovate the Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris. And we're having him on the phone right now. Mr. Pinault, what a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me too.
Tell me what is really behind your decision.
Well, I was last night watching with my family the tragedy of Notre-Dame, and it was really a shock. It was striking everyone, the kids, the adults, all the French people, and much beyond that. And I felt urgently a need to make something to move, and I decided immediately to commit to the restoration of the cathedral. It's such an important building for humanity, not just French, not just the Catholic religion. It's important for everyone. It's about humanity. So I decided to put immediately 100 million euros of my resources, my family resources, from my family office to the restoration of Notre-Dame.
And about Notre-Dame, to you, what is it personally, and also to the human being even, as a very important treasure of our world?
Well, it represents so many things. It's about our country, it's our history, our culture, our national pride, and it's about spirituality also. And you know, this cathedral has been built between the 12th century and the 14th century, 200 years, with so many people, so many artists, so many creators putting their heart in that building. It's such an important icon of the mankind history, much more than France. So, and this is why it was striking to see how everyone was reacting. As I said, young kids that don't even know about the history of Notre-Dame, adults, and those people crying in front, looking at Notre-Dame on fire and crying in Paris. It was, and every one of us, we felt that inside of us, something was broken inside. So I felt this need to move and to do something.
Mr. Pinault, are you satisfied with the process which the fire was fought? And what about now? What do you consider as a love of the nation? The cathedral should be repaired from your perspective, of course.
Yeah, first of all, I have to praise the firemen of Paris that did an amazing job, because it is such a complicated location in Paris. It's a very dense location inside in the deep center of Paris, so it was difficult to access. It's on an island, as you know, inside Paris, so they did an amazing job to try to avoid the worst. And as you know, the structure of the cathedral is still there, so this is the most important thing. So now we'll have to rebuild all the roof and all the thing that has been, but we need to repair it in the right way. It has to be done following the rules that have been followed for almost 1,000 years. Try to find the right woods, the right technique that we used at the time to make it as close as possible as it was before, not just a quick restoration. It has to be done in the proper way. So, and I'm sure that the French government and the French authorities that will lead the restoration will do it very properly.
Mr. Pinault, finally, before you go, we met each other at a time when you were making this very important contribution from your family as well, the statues of the rat and the rabbit coming from the old summer palace of China, and you donated that back to the National Museum in China. To you, treasures of all countries and cultures, how shall we better protect it from a lover of culture?
Well, we need to be very aware of the importance of culture and all those symbols that unite a country, a people around them. So, without culture, without our own history, each people are lost. So, in such a global world, we need to cherish all those elements of our collective culture. And then, when I had this opportunity to do this gesture towards the Chinese people, it was important for me because I knew that would represent so many things for this country, for the Chinese people. And again, we need to take care of that. And even private resources like mine, when we can use our resources for such important things, it makes what we do as a business even more interesting, even more exciting. So restoring our common patrimony in each country, our common culture is a priority for everyone. It should be considered like this.
François-Henri Pinault, the Chairman and Chief Executive of Kering. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us from Paris. Both of you have heard Professor Toker and Professor Dong from Mr. Pinault. Certainly, that's one of those efforts made right now in order to contribute to the rebuild and renovation of Notre-Dame. But what do you make of this when it comes to the French circumstances? Professor Toker, the country has been having some problems earlier, for example, with the Yellow Vest. We have seen the president trying to rally the whole nation. Is this a moment that would bring all the hearts and minds together for something bigger than what culture can really bring to us, and also culture can transform us?
It is. It is. It is a moment with a capital M. I mean, it does not have historical importance, but just in order to contextualize what you said in your introduction to the question you put to me, not only France has gone through a crisis, it is still within a major political, social crisis. And as a matter of fact, President Macron just finished to record yesterday evening a 20-minute speech to the nation, which was supposed to be on the air at 8 p.m. In the evening yesterday. And as he came out of the studio at the presidential palace of the Élysée, he was told that fire has taken the Notre-Dame Cathedral. And of course, he took right away the decision to postpone the speech to the nation due to the circumstances, and then later on went down to the Ile de la Cité to visit the cathedral. So yes, this moment will serve, so to speak, in order to bring up to the surface the elements which unite the nation and unite humanity to some extent. The shocks have this quality of bringing people together due to sorrow, due to pain. Now, one shouldn't exaggerate in that in terms of political analysis, but it is certainly one of those rare instances, in which you see that we may transcend, and particular political or social or economic events do transcend the sense of historical events when they are faced by something which we all feel is bigger than us and transcends indeed the immediate meaning we tend to give to so many small details and less small details.
I see. Professor Dong, of course, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, as we know earlier, not long ago, made a trip to France in Paris as well. And also, Chinese tourists are going to Paris in abundance. So what do you think, even with this tragedy, but now seem to be an incident that would bring the whole country together and probably even the rest of the world on the symbol. What would that mean for many of the Chinese who are having much respect of the French culture?
I think it will, for the tourists, Chinese tourists, it will be a moment to read the book again. And when we go to Paris and go to the cathedral, I think everyone will have the book in our in our pocket with us. And I think it's also a moment for us to know a little more about the interior, the construction, the historical, and I think the people will pay much more attention to the monument because it's destroyed or partly destroyed.
If we turn the sorrow into strength, that would be really something, and that is certainly what Notre-Dame has been contributing to us throughout the centuries. For now, I want to thank the two of you, Professor Dong Qiang and Professor Joab Toker, joining us in our program in Beijing and in Paris.